Welcome to the Business Resilience section of the Cloud Adoption Framework Secure Methodology. My name is Mark Simos. I'm Lead Cybersecurity Architect at Microsoft. Marcello?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Marcello. I'm also a Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft in Latin America. And for me, it's really a pleasure and honor to be here with these two masters, Mark Simos and Hanamura-san, to cover such an important topic these days, right? Business resilience. So guys, thank you very much for inviting me.
And my name is Minoru Hanamura. Call me Hanamura-san. I'm a Japanese and covering Asia time region. I'm also a security advisor. It's really a pleasure to present you. Okay.
Cool. So, Marcello, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, for sure, Mark. So we're going to start talking about before the incident, right? So, first of all, companies need to realize that they are under attack, right? So you don't know precisely how and when an incident will occur, but the only thing we know is that it will happen at some point in time, right? So I usually say that there are only two types of companies, Mark. The ones that were attacked and are aware of that, and those that don't have a clue,
But they're still attacked.
yeah, exactly. So companies should change their mindset, right? And recognize that this is, it's impossible to protect only. So you're going to need to detect, respond, and, do as fast as you can. And you should improve the secure posture and all the organization's controls and ability to respond to an incident. So this continuous improvement will help to limit the likelihood and potential impact of a security incident in your business operation. So long story short, we must implement security controls, right, to raise the cost of attacks. So the attackers will need to develop and try new techniques because you have made their old methods stop working and their lives a little bit more difficult and complicated. And I also like a very famous quote saying, if you're getting chased by a lion, you don't need to run faster than the lion, right? So you just need to run faster than the other people, the guys that you are with. So it helps a lot, right? So, and in this case, you're going to need to prepare the company, prepare the users, prepare the administrators. And believe me, the worst time to recognize that you are not prepared to respond is during a real one, right? So that's not the good thing to do. So you really need to improve and prepare the team and prepare the tools, prepare the incident response process and before an incident. So it's really important to prepare. So the cyber attack will occur. You're going to need to face that. Look at the ransomware attacks we are facing. So companies from different sectors, and you need to prepare a plan, right? At the end of the day, it's much better to do that when you are in a calm environment than also when you are under crisis, right?
Completely agree. I mean, what you're talking about, this is where the assumed breach or assumed compromise from Microsoft really captures it. And this all of this, as we look through this whole life cycle here, goes to that North Star for what security is trying to do of business resilience. We need to make sure the business is resilient, that is able to handle the attacks and bounce back. And it's really that full life cycle view. Hanamura-san, did you want to talk a little bit about during an incident?
Yeah, during the incident. So we are living in, unfortunately, assume compromise world. So 100% protection is not possible anymore. The attackers are sophisticated anyway. They can penetrate into a network. Even they are using social engineering. And sometimes some internal fraud activity can turn out to be some attackers can be invited. So things happens, and what happens? So it happens. Another focus could be how you can protect your critical business operations. Now we are talking about the business, not only security. So before the incident, actually, you have to prepare which kind of tasks is important, and even assume compromise. Which task or operation could be a very, very important, critical for surviving. Then you can prioritize to set a countermeasure to make it operational. Then after you protect your very, very important the process, you have to make sure your high value impacted resource is protected also. So that the kind of prioritize the matter is necessary. So you don't have to do a blanket coverage on the everything you want to do at the same time. You guys are easily confused and lots of productivities are lost, and as it turned out, your business competency can be lost too. So you have to very business minded to do a security countermeasure during the instance. Okay.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to one of our folks that helps with hurricane recovery and other crises at Microsoft, and helps our customers and works with government and coordinates. And in that world of physical crisis management, their rule of thumb is, in a crisis, you have 50% of your people, because half of them are not going to show up or something's going to happen, at 50% of their mental capacity. So they're only going to be half of your team, and they're only halfway there because they're worried about their families and they're worried about other things and they're distracted and they're stressed out. And so you've got to be able to plan, not only before an incident, but also during the incident, you've got to recognize that and manage it. Okay. And the metric that we recommend for that, during an incident, and just in general, whether it's a big one or whether it's just a smaller one, is mean time to remediation. How long does the attacker have access to your resources? Because time is what they need to be able to do damage to your business. And so the more that you can constrain their time, that's a very good kind of North Star. Now, you're not in control of how many attackers attack you, right? And when they do. So you can't, judge the team or fire people because they didn't make the metric. But it's a very good indicator of how well the team is doing. Are they trending well, or was there a big incident that changed something? Mean time to remediate, or MTTR, is the one that we really look to during an incident.
Yep.
And progressing to after an incident. So it's happened, the attackers lost access. Finally, we've got them kicked out, whether it was a, clean them up as we go, or was a planned big bang because, oh my gosh, it was a very advanced nation state that had, 10, 12 different access points. Once the attacker's out, you're then in that post-incident stage, and you want to make sure that business operations get back to full. Now, in a data theft scenario, they're not really going to be interrupting your business operations in most cases, right? Which is what we've been seeing for the past 10, 15 years. But with this huge amount of ransomware we're seeing, or really extortion attacks, where the adversaries are actively disrupting business operations and then threatening to not restore them unless you pay, traditional extortion approach. Business operations are being impacted at a scale we have not yet seen in cybersecurity before. It was always happening at a low level, but we're really seeing an amazing scale of it right now. It's hitting the headlines. And so it's very important to make sure that you are rapidly getting that business up to speed. And that should influence what you do before an incident as well. We'll talk about the feedback loop in a moment, but the number one job as soon as that attacker is kicked out is to get business operations up and running. Sometimes even during an incident, you're figuring out and planning, okay, this team's going to figure out how to get us back. This team's going to hunt and get rid of the adversary. So it's very important to get back to full business operations as fast as possible during that or after that incident. And then the final stage, as I was mentioning, is feedback loop, right? Whatever worked before at your organization or at a neighbor or a competitor or an industry peer or somewhere else that the attackers went after, they're going to try it again. They're going to automate it. They're going to make it faster. They're going to make it better. So you've got to learn the lessons from every incident, the ones that happen to you and the ones that happen to others in industry and your peers. It's super important to have that feedback loop. Any other thoughts?
I think so. Sorry, Marcello.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So attackers are getting sophisticated. So we have to be a learner too, as a protection viewpoint. But attacker viewpoint, we have to consider the first. So continuous learning and hopefully faster learning speed, so you can up to speed and you can protect effectively. Okay, Marcello.
Yeah, at the end, for me, the feedback loop, you need to learn, right? learn with all the incidents, find the root cause, map the vulnerabilities explored, and all the gaps exploited. So you need to learn with that and improve the security and the life cycle. So create a plan to close the gaps, test the scenario again. That's important because if you're gonna change something or put a new configuration or something like this, you don't want to wait again for a new incident. So it's important to also create some continuous control monitoring process, implement some tools that can help you detect if someone is changing a configuration, for instance. So you must do that to make sure you're gonna monitor and evaluate if someone is changing a configuration, like a blob storage that is private. If someone is changing the configuration because it's an error and it's just publishing confidential information. So you're going to need to detect that as fast as you can. So you can put some controls and also learn with other incidents, not your incidents, right?
Yes, to learn from your own mistakes is smart. To learn from others' mistakes is genius. So let's try and be geniuses if we can. And one last closing thought, because one key thing to keep in mind here is that this is not security's job alone, right? And we've talked in other sections about accountability versus responsibility. These incidents affect the business operations. So it's not like security is going to do this on their own. Each of these stages is a partnership, working to figure out, okay, what could the attackers go after? Working between business and security and IT folks. During the incident, they've got to work together to make sure that they're coordinating PR, communications, technical stuff, and all of these things are actually working together. Same thing with after an incident and that feedback loop. Everyone's going to have different ideas and different perspectives that, hey, we could fix this with a process of how we do, in the case of, say, a whaling attack where they target a CEO to transfer money. That might actually be best fixed with a business process that, you don't just take a verbal from the CEO, you go through an extra step and a call and something else. You don't necessarily need a whole lot of fancy technology for that. And so it's very important to bring together all the stakeholders in the business, within the IT and the security organizations, to really bring the best that the organization has through every stage of this. Gentlemen, it's been an honor to talk with you about this, and hopefully this was helpful to all of you watching the video. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, Minoru. Always a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you, Marcello, Mark.
Arigato.
Arigato. Obrigado.
Obrigado.